Welcome to Big Pool Discipleship 101, the Bible in a Year, Week 30, Ecclesiastes 1 through Isaiah 8, From Futility to Restoration. In Ecclesiastes 1, Koheleth, the collector or preacher, reminds us that there is nothing new under the sun. In what manner is this true, even in the age of technology? In verse 12 through Ecclesiastes 2, we're reminded of the futility of human wisdom. How is sorrow increased with knowledge? How is worldly pleasure futile? How do the wise and foolish share the same fate? In what way is our worldly work futile? In Ecclesiastes 3, we learn that God allows even bad things for a limited time. From verse 16 is the time of injustice, and its end with God's justice. If there's nothing better than happiness in our work, how can we learn to be happy in our work? Ecclesiastes 4 discusses envy, companionship, and the futility of politics. Why is envy a bad motivator for success? Is cooperation better than competition? Why does Koheleth, the preacher, believe that fame is futile? Ecclesiastes 5 reminds us to have open ears and shut mouths in God's house, and that money does not bring happiness. How important is it to listen in church? How important is it to eat, drink, enjoy our work and lot in life? Ecclesiastes 6 continues discussing the futility of wealth and honor. How important is it to enjoy what we have rather than desiring what we don't have? Ecclesiastes 7 through the first verse of chapter 8 presents provocative proverbs. Why are funerals better than parties? Why is it wise to think about death? Why is it important to remember that nothing is certain in this life? Why would Solomon not find a virtuous woman? Ecclesiastes 8 tells us to obey human government. Why is this wise? Why is it important to have fun? Ecclesiastes 9 says to enjoy marriage while we can, because death and tragedy come suddenly. Why are quiet, wise words better than foolish shouts of government leaders? Ecclesiastes 10 gives more words on wisdom and folly. What stands out to you? Ecclesiastes 11 speaks of a diverse investment portfolio and enjoying every minute of life. How important is it to diversify? How can we make every minute a joy? Ecclesiastes 12 reminds us to remember God while we're young, before we get too old. How did Koheleth conclude everything? Song of Songs 1 and 2 opens with a country girl and her shepherd groom declaring their love for each other. How does it picture the love of Christ for his church? Though sexually explicit, this book is also pure in the context of holy matrimony. How have you experienced marital love? Song 3 is the bride's dreams, as young women of Jerusalem distract her with sightings of Solomon. Why did Solomon with 1,000 wives and concubines not have a love like this? In Song 4, the young man describes his bride's beauty. How is this wholesome and pure even though explicit? How can a man treat his wife like a treasure? Verse 16 through Song 5, we have the bride's second dream. The bride reveals why she loves her groom so much. How can a woman treat her husband well? In Song 6 through 7, the groom and bride describe each other in pure marital candor and detail. Is the seeming silliness of some of the descriptions very typical of romance between a husband and wife? Does this reveal that the primary purpose of marriage is far more than having children? What does all this say about a spouse being that lifelong companion and lover? Isaiah lived in Jerusalem and prophesied during the reigns of Uzziah, Jotham, Ahaz, and Hezekiah, kings of Judah. Only 7 more kings, and Judah was in captivity. Isaiah combined a message of judgment with hope. The most important theme of the book is Jesus Christ as Judge of nations, branch, born of a virgin, and being called Emmanuel, a stumbling block and rock of offense, with government upon his shoulder as Prince of Peace, the Holy Spirit resting on him, a cornerstone and sure foundation. Isaiah 1 opens with descriptions of a sinful and rebellious nation. Do any of these words apply to our nation? Isaiah 2 is consistent with a twofold theme, beginning with God's future reign, yet warning of imminent judgment. Could any of this also apply to our day? Isaiah 3 points to national judgment because of national sins. What national sins come to mind in our day? Does haughtiness play a part? Isaiah 4 promises that after so much slaughter and few fighting men are left, restoration will come. Who is the branch? Isaiah 5 describes God's disappointment with a vineyard that produces a crop of oppression and violence instead of justice and righteousness. How will he deal with such a vineyard? Isaiah 6 described himself as a man of filthy lips among a people of filthy lips. How were his lips cleansed, and how was he prepared for ministry? Isaiah 7 and 8 covers 3 prophetic signs which repeat the theme of restoration after judgment. The sign of Shear Jashub, the sign of Emmanuel, and the sign of Maher Shalal Hashbaz. What did these signs mean? Shear Jashub, the remnant shall return, prophesies Judah's return to Jerusalem and restoration. Jesus was called Emmanuel, God with us. Maher Shalal Hashbaz, hurry to the spoils, is a prophecy of judgment and the destruction of Jerusalem. Well, that's it for this time. Until next time, be blessed.